I found Shadow the Hedgehog on a shelf at my local retro game store and had a bit of an epiphany. Even though I'm a huge fan of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and really enjoyed Sonic Heroes as well, I never played the follow-up to Adventure 2 and Heroes, which canonically is Shadow the Hedgehog. Yep, during this time, these Sonic games actually kept a line of continuity going through them, and this game was meant to not only answer a lot of questions hanging from Heroes after the dark ending showed a room full of Shadow clones, but this game was supposed to be a sort of proof of concept for Sega to make more spin-off Sonic games. Sadly, the only thing that this game really showed was that some long developing issues at Sonic Team were finally beginning to show themselves. Shadow the Hedgehog begins with, okay then, does that happen every... Wow. Just from this and the opening cutscene, it becomes very apparent that Sonic Team USA is taking the slight edginess of Sonic Adventure 2 and dialing it way up. This was during a time period when the brooding anti-hero was still a very popular thing, so this isn't totally unexpected, but that choice to change the tone was bound to rub some people the wrong way. Personally, I don't see much of an issue with it. Sonic Adventure 2 wasn't exactly super family friendly either. Shadow's motivations in that game were almost entirely fueled by his desire to fulfill the dying wish of his only friend, Maria. Maria was Dr. Gerald Robotnik, Dr. Eggman's father's granddaughter, who seemingly died of suffocation on the Ark years prior to Sonic Adventure 2. Dying of suffocation isn't exactly a painless way to die, folks. Add in the fact that Shadow seemingly dies at the end of Sonic Adventure 2, and we have a relatively dark story. This is why I don't really have an issue with Shadow the Hedgehog having a dark tone in concept. With that said, there are some pretty silly things that happen in this game. From the opening cutscene showing Shadow looking super cool in his not Harley to this scene.
Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald?
You can already tell that this game is trying really hard to get you to take it seriously. You know, they could have chosen to use a curse word in a natural way, but they just really had to stress that damn in there so the audience would know that Shadow is a badass. After all, only the hardest people use the word damn, right mom? So the game starts you off in Westopolis as it is under attack by the Black Arms, an alien army led by the sinister looking Black Doom. Oddly enough, Black Doom seems to know you and attempts to persuade you to take his side in the conflict and attack the defending gun troops. This is all done with the promise that he will tell you the truth about your past at some point. On the other side, we have Sonic, who shows up and asks you to help defend the city by attacking the Black Arms forces. You were actually originally there just to find a Chaos Emerald, but at this point, the game actually presents you with a choice. You can either help Gun defend Westopolis, help Black Doom conquer Westopolis, or grab the Chaos Emerald and peace out with absolutely zero fucks given about the battle. After making your choice, the game presents you with a story mission select board that reacts to how you choose to complete each mission. Thanks Star Fox 64, but the movement is affected by moral choices instead of success or failure. The way that you choose to complete each level directly affects where you're sent to next, and the levels are different depending on the choice that you make. You'll find throughout most of this review that I have mixed opinions about this game, but let me put my foot down and say that I really like this idea. It kind of feels like taking the story mode of Adventure 2 and its hero and dark stories and giving the player more agency over it. This actually ends up with Shadow the Hedgehog having 10 endings, though I thought it was only 5 during my playthrough, but we'll touch on that a bit later. During my first playthrough, I didn't quite understand this mechanic, so I was actually running straight through every level and getting the normal completion for the first 2 levels at least. Through a bit of trial and error though, I ended up at the ending that was second from the bottom and squared off against Black Doom with Vector the Crocodile.
Hey Shadow, you okay? Hey Shadow, hey Shadow.
Look, I know this game directly follows Sonic Heroes, but really? The final climactic battle with Black Doom is done with Vector at your side. Even for the quote-unquote not entirely hero ending, this seemed a bit weird. I mean, I understand Sonic being reserved for the true hero ending, but why not Knuckles or Tails for this ending? Regardless, overall, the first playthrough was a lot of fun and kind of reminded me of Sonic Adventure in the way that the levels felt, minus the guns. Right, forgot to mention that. Those guns that you see in the intro cutscene aren't just for show, you get to use them in game. Considering that we've played as E102 Gamma in Sonic Adventure and Tails and Eggman in Sonic Adventure 2, who all used guns, this doesn't feel super out of place or anything, but wow, do some of these gun models look silly. I think the ones that really get me are the Eggman robot guns. They look like Super Soakers, and it almost completely derails this edgy tone they seem to be going for with this game. In general, I think the gun models were just made a bit too big for Shadow, as they all look comically large in his hands. It's a minor gripe that's more funny than annoying. Another new mechanic that was added to the game was a gauge ability system. Basically, your dark or hero gauge fills up as you kill more gun troops or Black Arms troops respectively. When the dark gauge fills up, you get an ability called the Chaos Blast, which destroys anything in your immediate vicinity. When the hero gauge fills up, you use the Chaos Control ability, which either shoots you forward in a normal level or slows time down during a boss fight. This is a nice new mechanic as the blast really helps you when you get overwhelmed, and control really helps in normal missions where your objective is just to get to the end and you want to get there faster. So at this point, I looked at the mission select board and saw 5 ending missions and thought that completing those 5 missions would grant me a last story of sorts, just like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and Heroes, where our heroes face off in a final battle against the biggest bad of the game. This would necessitate me completing the game 5 times, and with the first run clocking in around 2 hours, this would be a decent time investment for me. I had enjoyed the first playthrough though, so I decided it was worth it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't, so I decided to go for the true dark ending during my second playthrough and ran head on into this game's glaring issues. These issues only started as small irritations with the start of the second level, but became a full-on aggravation as the level went on. While most of my first playthrough was just getting Shadow from point A to point B in pretty much just running based levels, this level takes place inside a physical manifestation of the CIA's mainframe. Man, that's a heck of a premise, and involves a lot more precision. It was here that I started to notice that something was really off with Shadow's controls. He feels way more floaty in this game, and his acceleration feels off, which causes me to either fly all over the room or just fly off the map and die at some points. Other issues began to crop up as I progressed. Another questionable decision made by Sonic Team was to give the player just enough control over the camera to annoy them. I tolerated the fixed camera in Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 because at least it worked most of the time. The camera in Shadow the Hedgehog is way more janky in comparison. I found quite frequently that I couldn't see the area that I needed to jump to, or the camera would all of a sudden just take control away from me and whip around to follow the movement of bosses. I've dealt with bad cameras in 3D Sonic games before, but this one takes the cake by a pretty significant margin, though a lot of that has to do with me not having a very vivid memory of Sonic 06. Perhaps it's for the best. Then I tried the True Hero campaign and ran into 2 of the most annoying levels I've ever encountered in a Sonic game. The first was at Circus Park, where the hero objective was to just collect 400 coins. Not too hard, right? Just collect 400 coins in total? Sure, easy enough, but you have to hold on to all 400 coins without losing any of them. Now granted, this game does thankfully buck the trend of pretty much every previous Sonic game where you lose all of your rings upon damage. Now you only lose some, but you still lose all of them if you die, and remember how I said that these game's controls were janky?
Damn, not here.
Yep, that happened. The other level is Lost Impact, which takes place in the past on the Ark. On one hand, it's really interesting to be playing a level with Maria standing right next to you and speaking to you as you progress through the level. Her dying wish is pretty much the catalyst for Shadow to become the character you play as in this game, so it's kind of a bittersweet feeling to do something nice for her one more time. Too bad this level is annoying as all hell from a design perspective. You see, to get the hero completion, you have to kill 35 of these artificial chaos things, which first showed up to be a pain in the ass back in Sonic Adventure 2. They're still a pain here, but for a different reason. Finding all 35 of these things was extremely trying on my patience. Not only is there really nothing telling you where these things are, we also get some pretty bad platforming mechanics to sprinkle right on top. The one that really got me was this tiny section where you had to diagonally jump in between these 2 walls in a narrow corridor with no floor. I routinely, for no reason other than the game's mechanics, fell to my death after 2 jumps. I could not complete a 3rd or 4th jump for whatever reason, so I just kept dying over and over again. So, needless to say, this level took a while to beat, but I almost didn't believe the timer when I finally finished. 25 minutes and 57 seconds. That is an absurd amount of time to spend on a level in a Sonic game. For context, and I'll bring this up again, trust me, I played through all 4 Shadow levels in Sonic Adventure 2 before sitting down to write this review, and all 4 of those levels took me about 20 minutes in total. Think about that. So after completing the True Hero route, I went back and completed the True Normal or Neutral route, and then proceeded to fill in all of the missing levels on the board with the hopes of unlocking the last story. Upon completing the final boss fight, which was the quote-unquote not entirely dark storyline, I was expecting to have the last story unlock, but nothing happened. So I went to look at the map again and saw that there were these 2 check marks for each of the 5 boss fights. I went into the level select screen to see if I could play those 4 missing boss fights. I even tried to meet the game halfway and play the last mission prior to the boss fight, but nope. The game is going to make me run through it another 5 times to get the last story. Gonna have to give a hard nope on that one. While I genuinely enjoyed my playthrough of Shadow the Hedgehog at points, the pain points proved to be just too much to warrant 5 more playthroughs. While the levels that allow Shadow to just run through and shoot things with minimal precision platforming are a lot of fun, the missions that require more focus shine a huge spotlight on the game's flaws. The lack of polish on Shadow's movement mechanics leads to a slew of cheap and infuriating deaths. Just to make sure that it wasn't being too harsh on this game, as I mentioned before, I went back and played the 4 Shadow levels in Sonic Adventure 2, and it confirmed my feelings on the matter. Shadow plays much better in Sonic Adventure 2 as his movement feels much more precise and well tuned. Another thing that I noticed was that this game really chugs on the Gamecube. Frame rate drops are rather common in this version and serve to exacerbate the existing issues with the game. At the end of the day, Shadow the Hedgehog is not a very good game, but for the absolute die-hard Sonic Adventure fans like myself, this squeaks by with a recommendation just to see the third chapter in this story. For everyone else though, stay away from this game. I got this game for $15 and I don't regret buying it simply for the experience, but I don't see myself going back to this game much, and that's coming from someone loaded with nostalgia for Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. If you're into playing GameCube games and you're looking for a Sonic game, I very much recommend Sonic Adventure 2 Battle or Sonic Adventure DX instead. Now that that's over, I think I need a palate cleanser of sorts, and I have a few GameCube games on hand that I've never really played that I'd like to take a shot at reviewing. Next time, we take a look at a game that I didn't really give a fair shot back in the day, and I have regretted it ever since. See you then!